And now, cutting through your typical media nonsense and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. He's a successful entrepreneur, published author, top listing agent, a real estate and finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Consumer Quarterback Show. I am playing backup quarterback today. My name is Alex Lima. I'm filling in for your consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes. You know me as BlackBelt Fitness and Martial Arts Club. I've been on the show for a while, a couple of years now. Actually, in March is going to make 4 years that I've been doing the show, which is kind of crazy. I can't believe I've been doing it that long. So the show has been a tremendous blessing in my life. So any opportunity I have to give back to the listeners and other contributors coming on to help them, raise awareness in their markets and raise their celebrity and, let people know what they're all about. I seize the moment. I seize the chance to do it. So as we know, Brandon and Lindsay Rhymes, they own the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams. It's a premier real estate team, literally in the Bay Area. And actually, they do deals nationwide. We always like to highlight a few properties that are currently on the market through the MVP team. One that we have going right now is 1991 Orange Court in Dunedin, Florida. That's in Pinellas County. A beautiful home. It's almost 3,000 square feet, just a little under 2,900 square feet. It's 5-bedroom, 3-bath, gorgeous kitchen with updated features. Got solar panels, so that lowers your electric bill. Oversized heated pool. I'm not sure what oversized means. I mean, I can't imagine a pool can be too big, I guess, unless you can't really swim. Large screen-in patio and a huge split floor plan. You can find all the listings for the Platinum MVP team at platinummvpteam.kw.com. Another property that we have hot on the market, this one just listed not too long ago, is 8868 Indigo Trail Loop in Riverview, so in beautiful Hillsborough County. Just under 2,000 square feet. It's a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath. It's a 2-story townhome in Osprey Lakes, which is a really hot community right now. Gorgeous kitchen with updated features. Got his and her walk-in closet, so there you go. But eventually it'll be all hers. She'll put her shoes in your closet as well. You got the large open floor plan, large screen-in patio, and it's an easy commute to Tampa International Airport, Western Mall, International Mall, all the restaurants, and all the highlights we have here in the Bay Area. Once again, you can find all the property listings at platinummvpteam.kw.com. We have an awesome lineup per the usual. We have Mark Haye, our finance expert. He's going to be on the show, always dropping knowledge as far as finance and investments. And he's got some pretty amazing ways every time I listen to him to how to, diversify your investment strategies. I want to talk to him today about kind of like per age group, the categories of what, how much someone should be saving and stuff. So it's going to be a good talk for sure. We have Brent Shiver of Wild Out Pest Control coming on the show, and Shane Socash, our precious metals expert. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get to Mark Haye. Mark Haye, welcome back, man. How you doing?
Thank you. Happy New Year to you.
Man, it's always awesome when you're on the show. I really do learn a lot, legitimately. I go back and I listen to the YouTube channel. That's another thing. People should utilize our YouTube channel. There is like a plethora of knowledge there that you can, don't worry about the date that it was filmed. Like that knowledge is still relevant. Like what you were talking about last month is still relevant today.
Absolutely. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So what's up, man? What kind of stuff are you going to bring to us today?
Well, we're going to talk about the student debt crisis. The reason I'm talking about it is because it is the second biggest debt on a consumer's behind mortgage. And it's been in the media for quite some time. And because of COVID, the forgiving of payment has been deferred. But here we are a couple months away from that payment's going to have to start again for a lot of people. Just because they're deferring that payment or don't have to pay it doesn't mean that that's not accruing interest and growing. Just they're going to have to start paying on it. So I was going to talk a little bit about debt, and we do help our clients actually get out of debt faster than what would be. But first off, we got about $1.8 trillion of student debt here in America when it comes to student loan debt.
Right.
And 93% of that is federal government. So only 7% is private. And you look at that and you think, well, they make it very easy to get a loan or a grant for college. And
almost too easy.
Almost too easy.
Yeah.
And sometimes 18, 19-year-olds don't understand the consequences of that's going to be due at some point. And most people go to college and don't graduate. And so they have $30,000, $40,000 on average of student loan debt with really nothing to show for that other than a big giant $1,000 a month bill that unfortunately will snowball to delaying home ownership. They may live at home or have roommates or rent something because they can't afford a home because of that student debt. They may delay retirement planning because they got the student debt
and inflation, family, debt and inflation. Yeah,
right. So it snowballs into other areas. But I always think, man, wouldn't it be nice if it would be as easy to get a loan or a grant to open a business? So we tell kids, it's been, I guess, instilled, go to college. I don't care what degree you get, go to college. And I think that's kind of old thinking at this point, seeing the climate that we're in now and the opportunities that we have in America. That I have a master's, I'm happy and proud I got that. It looks really good on a business card. But if I didn't have the master's, it's not going to change my life.
Yeah.
So I'm happy I got it. But at the same time, if I had to do it again and spend the money, would I do it? Because I'd be in the same spot I am today with or without that master's.
Yeah, but like you said, at the time, like you don't know what you don't know. When you're a kid first in college, the world is yours, right? We've been fed that, and you're right. I agree with you. It's an antiquated mindset. Now, I'm not saying education is not important. You need to be educated, but like I think the way that we go about it is incorrect. I've always been in the thought process of. Especially like your first like 2 years of schooling or whatever, like what you can get at like HCC or something like that. Everybody's got to do those prereq courses. Like, why are we charging so much for those prereq courses? Try to go the more financial savvy route of like do this for cheaper. Because if you go, like, a lot of people are like, no, I want the college experience. And that's what a lot of it is too, that you get your debt because your kid's like, I want the college experience. So off the gate they want to go to like Florida State or wherever they want to go. And you're acquiring, man, it is a lot more expensive, not including housing and everything and stuff. It's I don't know, man. It's the system. It seems that there really is a system in place that is just it's built to put you in this machine of constantly being in debt. You're never out of debt. You will always have debt between your house, your car, everything. Your house can be. This is something that totally blows my mind. Your house can be completely paid for. I don't owe a penny on the mortgage, yet I still my taxes every month. Like you're still gonna end up paying a couple grand anyways, but you own it.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense to me.
Exactly.
So it's nuts, man.
Yeah, it is nuts. And like you said, it's just the first couple of years, why not go to SBC? Why not go to a community college and knock those out and figure out kind of what you're going to do? A lot of times you go to college, myself, you change majors halfway through anyways. You don't really know what you want to do. And you don't have to be in a rush to go to college. You graduate high school and you want to go work somewhere. There's nothing wrong with working your way up into a management and maybe take over a business someday and do that route and be debt free, or go do a trade, a welder or a truck driver. I want to be a fireman, a police officer.
Yeah.
There's so many routes you can go down and have a career and get some income, and then down the road you're like, you know what, I do want to go get my degree in such and such. And you're a little bit more mature at that time. You understand. And that's another thing.
And you've established some sort of financial base as well, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully you have some savings.
Right.
And that's another thing, too. In school, they don't teach anything when it comes to economics and money and how to leverage money and debt and good debt, bad debt. So it's a shame that kids are not getting educated on finance.
Functional things.
Then they go into the real world immediately at 18, get credit cards and get a student loan, and then the credit cards go way up, and, we got to pay it. Then they pay the interest only, and that accrues, and it's really a disservice, but I have to look at it as it's on purpose for the government to kind of have control, because they want people dependent.
Well, and it becomes a habit, right? So we form habits. No matter what we do, we form habits. You have habits, I have habits, whether they're healthy habits or not. I guess that depends on the person and can, I guess, to an extent be subjective. But now you're developing a habit at a young age of like going to school, taking on this massive debt, and like, well, I'll just pay for it later. You've established that in your brain that like, oh man, that's just what we do. So now you still have the school debt, and you get out like, man, I earned this. I want to get a car. So now you're throwing that debt on there, and it's like you're kind of pushed into a habit system of like acquiring debt and just being okay with it, and it shouldn't be okay.
And then you graduate with a bachelor, and you can't find a job that is paying enough to even live on, let alone pay the student debt. So he's like, okay, I'm going to go back to school and get my master's now because I'll just keep deferring it. I'll take more loans out. I'll get a master's. I can maybe get a better job that way. Yeah. And you kind of get into that.
It's a circle. It's an endless
circle.
Yeah.
And then that piper comes due, and then now what? And that, like we said, it delays home ownership.
Yeah. It
delays retirement planning. It delays having kids.
Yeah.
That we can have more taxpayer putting in the system for Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security.
Yeah.
And it's a big snowball effect. But just coming in and say we're going to forgive it is not a solution.
It's nonsense.
It's not a
solution.
solution.
I think another thing that's not harped on too, or not harped on, but something that people don't take into consideration too. When you get married or your relationship, your partnership, where you're living, you're acquiring their debt too. You know what I'm saying? Like because our funds. Listen, man, me and my wife, we pay the bills together, and if she has $40,000 in debt left over, I'm taking some of the hit on that. That's $40,000 that we can't just spend to go on a trip or do anything.
You're right.
It's nuts.
And so people need to think a little bit. It's nothing wrong with taking part time and working and paying as you go, or taking a little bit of loan. So I get. I want that college experience and everything else, and I did it. It was fun.
Sure.
But if I didn't do it...
In hindsight, though, you're thinking, you know now, but you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
Like, it comes with time and
It's
wisdom.
the same thing when you're in high school. You think prom is like the big deal.
That's it, man.
You got to go to prom. And then you get through it, and here we are today. I'm 42. You look back and say, it was fun. I don't really remember
right.
what it was like or what, it was fun.
But and prom is beautiful. It's a milestone in a person's life, but it's this antiquated like mindset of like, it's this pivotal moment. It has to be done, like the sweet 16 birthday.
Yeah, we got to spend all the money.
And all of these are acquiring more debt, by the way. I'm sure very few of these were actually paid all in cash. But real quick, before we get to more thoughts on the student debt forgiveness, speaking of this, so how do we educate ourselves? What do you think are some good sources for, obviously talking to an expert like yourself, getting with a financial advisor, things like that. But were there some other sources? Like, I was the guy that what helped me is I was always a seeker of knowledge and truth. Right?
Yeah, and I think that's an excellent
reading like,
question.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad, reading all those books, like it gives a mental shift, if you're paying attention.
Yeah, obviously I think books and obviously working with myself, financial advisor is good, but I honestly have to put it on the parents. The parents have to be the one to educate your son or daughter and tell them no, we're not going to send you to the University of Ohio State or Michigan and pay $50,000 a year for your out of state, and then you got to pay tuition and books and board. No, you're going to go to SBC. You're going to do that. And the problem is we don't have a lot of parents that stick up to the kids and tell them that word no and educate them why.
Or they're not educated as well.
Right.
It can be a generational trap that hey, my family didn't save, and so I don't know. If you don't know what you don't know,
right. And they're not learning it in school unless you sit down with a financial planner like myself, and it's free to do all this. And you sit down and you get educated on leveraging money and paying off debt and compounding interest and how you can do all this. You're just going to fumble through this, and then you're going to do it to the next generation, and so I think that the biggest player that we could do to help this crisis is not education, it's parenting. And I think parents need to step up to the plate on that scenario.
Yeah. I'm with you, man, and not just on financial education, just manners and morals. There's a lot of things that seems to be getting lost, and we cannot afford to let them get lost, man. We keep up at this rate. I mean, what's the next 10 years, 15 years going to look like in our country, in our society?
Right. And education is important. The more you know, the more sometimes you don't want to know. But you're going to go off and not be on social, monies and government programs. You're going to go off and hopefully open a business or have a nice job. And so I'm not saying education is terrible. I just think education can be improved, and I think that we can do better when it comes to student loans and educating people on that. And again, if we wiped out student loans, okay, it's not gone. It just went on to our debt, and now the next generation is going to pay that.
Yeah, it's got to be paid in some shape. Where
someone's going to pay it. So your tax is going to go up, and your kids' tax is going to go up. But let's say we did a wand, and all student is forgiveness is gone. Well, nothing is fixed. So we're just going to do the same thing again. We're going to create the same problem. We're going to do it again 23 years from now. We have the same conversation. We got $2 trillion.
And inflation's gone up, and it's worse. Yeah, we're just putting a Band-Aid on it.
Right.
We're not really fixing the problem. Let's get more into this when we come back. We're going to take a quick break, and then I want to get into some, we're going to do a mental think tank of how to solve these problems, and then I want to get with you about how to diversify your savings, for the future and everything.
Sounds good.
All right, guys, so when we come back, more with Mark Haye here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Check us out, consumerqb.com.
Hey, this is Grant Cardone, and you've been listening to the phenomenal Brandon Rhymes, the Consumer Quarterback Show.
You're listening to the Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes, cutting through your typical media nonsense and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. Online at consumerqb.com.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning into the Consumer Quarterback Show. I'm your host for the day, filling in for the awesome Brandon Rhymes. I'm Alex Lima with BlackBelt Fitness and Martial Arts. Continuing my conversation here with Mark Haye in just a second, we want to feature some of the properties from the Platinum MVP team. Brandon and Lindsay, they have one of the best, if not the best, real estate companies in all of Florida, really. And I know they're doing some national deals that are pretty cool as well right now. But one of the properties that we want to feature, this one is beautiful. This 8711 Longboat Lane in Hudson, Florida. This is in Pasco County. It's just under 1,300 square feet. It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, new granite countertops, new cabinetry and fixtures, no mandatory HOAs, and it's located on a non-through street, so there's no traffic. That means you get a lot of peace and quiet, which, I mean, you can't really put a price on that. We want our peace and quiet, right? Look at that. It's a beautiful property. The floors look nice big yard. Could play some volleyball in that backyard, I think, if I wanted to. All right, another property we want to feature is 417 Bloomingfield Drive in Brandon, Florida. This is in Hillsborough County, just under 2,500 square feet. It's a 5-bedroom, 3.5 bath. It's a 2-story home, brand new appliances throughout, newly resurfaced 2-car garage, updated office with natural sunlight, recently replaced roof, so the roof's all good, beautiful staircase, fireplace, flooring. Look at that bathroom. That looks like where you just kind of meditate for a while after a long day and just wash the bad vibes away, so we can have a nice dinner in that kitchen there. Beautiful property. Any of these properties that you want to check out, you can find them at the platinummvpteam.kw.com. You can also call our hotline 813-670-7372 to get in touch with either Brandon and Lindsay for the real estate properties, or to get in contact with any of our our experts that we bring on the show as well. So now back to Mark Haye. We were kind of touching on student debt forgiveness and how, in the end, it has a long-term effect. There is an effect to that. Forgiveness is a misnomer, because that gets paid out some other way. Just like when we were printing fake money not too long ago. I'm sorry, the checks we were printing out not too long ago. You can't manifest money. You can't just manifest it and think like it's all good. Oh, here you go. I can't just tell you, here you go, man. You got an extra $1,000 right now, and then just magically. It's lost its value, and that's an issue.
Yeah, and that's a good point. So if we went back in time to COVID and everybody got $600 checks or $1,200, whatever that number was, and we would fast forward to today and everything costs 50% more, do you still want the $600 check? For every action, there's a reaction. I would decline the $600 check and say, no, I don't want inflation to be 50%. I don't want
you would, because you know better. But the average person's like, awesome, I got $600 in my bank account. I'm not working right now. You think it was a godsend, but there's a long-term effect to that.
Long-term effects. Everything has a reaction to every reaction. So if you said, okay, I'm going to wipe out $2 trillion of student debt, that's not disappearing. It's just going to go back on our balance sheet as additional debt, which means we're all going to have to raise our taxes to go pay this debt, because right now everything we bring in for the government goes towards Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, and interest on our debt.
Yep.
Everything else is borrowed. Everything.
Yeah.
So salaries of politicians, their staff, roads, everything you could possibly think of, military to support our country, is all borrowed. So if you say we're going to take $2 trillion, just eliminate that, put it in our debt, that's $2 trillion that we're now basically essentially borrowing, which is going to go to your taxpayer, which is your kids, etc. So somebody pays that.
It's paid for somewhere, somehow.
And then you get really into it and say, okay, well, I paid off my debt. I personally paid off my student loan.
Yeah,
so
I was financially responsible, so I have to pick up the slack for those that were not financially responsible.
So then do I get a check and you get a check? Everybody gets a check that ever had a student loan. Where does it stop?
It's like Oprah. You get a car, you get a car, everybody.
Right. Exactly. And if you said, okay, we're gonna take care of the student debt, we're forgiving it, but tomorrow you apply, you cannot have your student debt forgiven. It just never ends.
So what do you think? What are some moves we can make? And actually, if we can kind of maybe break it up to an extent of like, if you're within this age group, like you're fresh out of college, say 20s to 30s, and then let's say maybe 30s to 50s, and then like going up to like the little getting up there.
Well, I think that we have to go to the universities, and I have to say, okay, you're getting tax subsidies, tax breaks, you're getting all this money, grant monies coming from government and donations, and you have billions of dollars in endowment funds. I think Michigan had billions. I think Harvard has billions. The last time I saw it. And it's just sitting in a cash account for that university. And then we're going to charge $25,000, $50,000 a year to go attend these universities, which is insane.
Now, when you say sitting in an account, you like a money market or some other kind of
just
like
cash,
investment
just
fund?
In a bank account sitting.
But it's acquiring interest and stuff too, so it is growing.
Yeah. You take Alabama. I like Nick Saban. I like Ohio State. Alabama's football team brings in billions of dollars, which funds all the other sports and still has money left over. Yeah. So I would go to all these universities and I would take a hard look and say, okay, what are we spending it on? Where is it coming from? Why are we giving all these tax breaks to you? Why are you getting grants when you're then just basically putting on the consumer to pay a loan from us? I would fix that, and I would start having pride in business ownership, like we talked about. Make it a little bit easier to have grants and loans for a business. I don't know if you've ever applied for a student or a small business loan.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're talking days of work.
Oh, a lot
and
of
you got to put together a business plan. You know, you want your 3, 5, 10-year plans. How you're going to get there, projections. If you want a student loan, you walk in or do it on the phone, and you could do an e-sign. You're done. You know, and you don't have anything to show for it if you don't finish that degree.
Sure.
And then if you go get a degree in whatever, you know, science, that you can only really be a professor for that degree, which is a lot of times happen. Right. You know, it's hard for me to think, man, why are we giving out these loans or these grants to go do this? You know, and you have take baby showers and wedding receptions, showers. You know, we have big parties for people who have babies. Great, I love it. It's great. Sure. Why can't we have those parties for? Hey, I'm opening a business and a business ownership party, and we come in and we give gifts and cash, and we have a party to celebrate that. I don't think we celebrate entrepreneurship enough in America, and that is the backbone of America. Yeah, it's not go into debt. And we can just live with that for the rest of our life, and hopefully it gets forgiven. The government comes in and saves us all.
And it creates a very negative and toxic mindset too. Because think about when you're in debt or you have something hanging over you, you're carrying the weight of something. Like you're just like it affects your mental health and stuff as well. But going back to the the celebrating of businesses, it's not just businesses and people. I mean, it's friends. There's not enough support in general. Like people like as soon as your friend opens a business, like your friends not. I mean, it depends on your circle. I know a lot of like my followers and stuff on social. I have more haters that are followers than the people that
I was just going to say the same thing. It's unfortunate. A lot of times people will have an idea, open a business, and they'll keep it to themselves because they don't want to hear the negativity feedback from their friends, family. When we should be celebrating entrepreneurship, we should be talking about that. We should come with gifts and cash and parties and get a grant, a student loan, and a business loan. We should do that stuff. And then all of a sudden now, America is even more prosperous. We're creating more jobs. We got to get away from government jobs. We're not creating jobs. We're just creating more debt and more revenue that we need to create for the government to have. We need private sector jobs. Yeah. And I think that we just don't do enough to celebrate it. But we do a lot to put people in debt, to go to college, and maybe finish that. Maybe not. Yeah. But the majority of people don't finish college. They'll go for a semester or two, and it's not for them. And that's okay. But you're still going to walk away with $30,000 in this debt that you're going to have to pay with no way to pay it. And then they live with their parents longer than they should, or they want to. They have a roommate. They're renting. They can't buy a home, which just affects everybody.
Yeah, about 30 seconds left, Mark. What's a good way for everybody to be able to reach you and get
reach out to me? You can call me at 727-804-7220. Appreciate having me on.
Man, it's always a pleasure, and I'm going to be calling you soon. I got to touch base. I'm not happy with my investment situation right now, and I know you're the guy I'm going to go to.
Look forward to it. Thank you.
All right, brother. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for listening. That was Mark Haye. He's our financial expert. You can check out him and all of our experts at www.consumerqb.com or call the hotline 813-670-7372. Coming back from the break, we got Brent Shiver and Shane Socash. Stay tuned.
Thanks for listening to My Daddy's Show. Please make sure to send him all of your real estate deals and subscribe to the Consumer Quarterback Show podcast on iTunes and Spotify.